What exactly is the new lab equipment and how can it be used?
So, yep. So the lab equipment, you can see kind of a set of it here, is for running a technique that we call gel electrophoresis, and that's a technique that biologists and scientists use often. This is like a daily basis kind of experimental technique, and we have enough equipment now that we can run student pairs in pretty much all of our biology classes in order to do it. And it's basically a separation technique. You can use this equipment and the technique to separate things on a molecular scale, which is something we definitely cannot do with existing equipment.
And how did you come up with the idea to get more of this lab equipment? Like why?
Right, so originally this was required for the AP biology curriculum, but as the years progressed, it's more and more common that people should be aware of this, even at sub-AP levels. So we decided that it was worthwhile to try and get for all of the biology students. And it's not unheard of. Some other schools have already done this in the area. But we just kind of lacked the resources to be able to do it, so it's really exciting to have the chance to now.
Okay. And I kind of lead into another question. So you mentioned other schools already have it. So is it common for schools to have this much equipment, or is GE kind of like joining the trend, or?
I believe it's common for schools to have some of the equipment. I do not believe, for AP especially,
Okay.
some schools for below AP, but I do not believe it's common for schools to have enough equipment really to to run the experiments with all of the biology students. And that's why this is fantastic, because the more you can apply these kind of techniques, real life experience and hands-on experience, to all levels of biology, I think the more useful it is. And that's especially true of all levels of students, even if they're not thinking about doing sciences in the future. So the idea is that in this small apparatus here, you'll have something that's kind of like a slab of, I don't know, gelatin to say, or something that's kind of simple. You cast that in this tray here. You place the tray into the apparatus, and the idea is that we're going to run a high electric current through that material. As the current goes through, it pushes whatever molecules are in that substance through that gelatin. The gelatin acts like a little sieve, and it separates things based on size. So, as you run it through, you'll get to see different molecules separate in that material based on how big they are. The big things kind of stay back, the little ones kind of go forward. Sort of like Plinko, if you ever watched The Price is Right. It's like little things trickling through pegs. So, it's a simple concept, but something that's very powerful, very versatile in lab sciences. So, these are the tanks to run it. This is the power supply, and that provides a constant high voltage, high amperage power source, which is something that you can't really get from any other power supplies you have traditionally lying around the classroom. So that's one of the big expenses, unfortunately. But when you're loading it, and this is the part that's kind of exciting for students, is that you're using this thing called a micropipette. And anyone familiar with chemistry knows you can use pipettes and it measures things on the milliliter scale. This measures on the microliter scale. So it's tiny, tiny little bits of material. And so you use these little disposable tips that go on the end, and you're measuring tiny little amounts of liquid and loading it into that gel with a little syringe action here. And so it's the type of thing that you see on CSI or any other forensics show, and it's actually really exciting. So it's like that. So that's the gist of it.
And how long does the entire experiment will take to run? Like a class period? Or?
To run, it's going to take a class period. It certainly will take a full block, I would say, just doing the running. But in discussing the technique and doing the analysis, it takes a little bit longer, which is why it's important to figure out exactly where this should go into the curriculum and how best to use it.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.